Everyone out there is trying to predict what the next big thing in tech is going to be. A lot of people are saying virtual reality is going to be the next big step for tech. I don't quite think so, but that's not what this is about. Most people on the street, if you ask them where technology is going, they're going to say it's implementation into our bodies. So tech is going to give us better vision, better memory, and I think that's going to take way longer in terms of legal issues than it is technology issues. Still, I think that's a long ways away, but never say never. My guess on what the real next big thing is something everyone's kind of assuming is coming, but no one's really acknowledging how big of a thing this really is. This is internet everywhere, fast internet, gigabit speeds everywhere you go. It's just a given. So who doesn't like fast internet, right? Wouldn't it be nice to just get rid of that buffering thing forever? So that's everyone's first thought when you tell them internet, fast internet everywhere. They're just like, yeah, you know, it's coming, it's nice. But there's more to it than just not having to wait for videos to buffer anymore. First of all, the biggest difference is if we had fast internet everywhere, we wouldn't have to store basically anything on our devices. This means our memory, our RAM, our processors, none of these things, our solid state drives, all of those wouldn't have to be on the device itself. Wouldn't have to be on your laptops, tablets, smartphones, watches, even desktops. All of that gets pushed to some server somewhere else. With gigabit speed internet, that means every second you're transferring gigabytes of data at graphics performance on all of your storage, all of your hard drives, somewhere else, just not on the device. When all that is put into a server farm, they're required to back it all up several times, not just once, not just twice, but many times. So if you broke it or you damaged it, nothing would get lost. Not a single file would be out of place because it was all stored somewhere else. And you're just talking to the window that communicates with the server farm way somewhere else. So now that all of that is somewhere else, the device you have with you really only has a screen, some cameras, a battery, basically a Wi-Fi chip, and a couple other things, but that's really it. Devices could get much smaller and much lighter, which I'm sure Apple, as we all know, would get on top of that. Or they could stay the same thickness as they are now and have drastically increased battery life. So now your device doesn't need to be charged every night, it needs to be charged every 7 days because it's using all that space for battery and not storage, motherboard, logic board, all that is put somewhere else. This would also mean you don't have to restart the entire phone every time you update. Every time they want to update their device, they just make the change and it immediately changes for you on your end. You don't have to go through anything. Now, like I said, this doesn't just apply to mobile devices. You could do this with desktops. People who use desktops usually have massive amounts of computer power now that can't be stored mobily, but it means you could get really elegant looking design. So on your desk, you'll have a monitor, a keyboard, a mouse, and that's it. No tower, no nothing. All that's put in a farm somewhere. You won't have to worry about the annoying process of installing more RAM or replacing a processor or replacing a hard drive. It's as simple as upgrading your storage plan on a website. Just give them a little bit more money and they give you more storage or more faster processor, better RAM. All that stuff is just for a couple of bucks. Don't have to worry about getting viruses or statically charging your hard disks and losing all your files. Any hard disk failure really is now not going to happen. And this also solves a huge issue I have with virtual reality headsets. They have that giant cable leading to a computer. If you had fast internet like this, you could stream it all to the headset and you wouldn't have a cable and you'd feel much more free and you wouldn't have to worry about falling down. Also, consider this across all your devices. No more downloading. Streaming is when you're accessing files from a server for a brief time. You're not actually downloading it to the device. And since all of these devices are basically streaming a computer, that means when you see a game that you want, hit the download button, just shows up instantly. Because you're not communicating with a server going directly to your device, it's just with some server in another server. They can talk to each other really fast, and downloading is basically instant. It's gone. It's not really happening. So when you want a game and you hit download, it's not there in an hour, it's not there in 20 minutes, it's there in an instant. Say Halo 20 comes out at midnight and you have it pre-ordered, so exactly when the clock strikes 12, it's immediately in your library and playable. That's pretty awesome for entertainment purposes. No one's gonna object to that, and people will pay for that. Also, if you think about Netflix and YouTube, we can stream extremely high resolution content when you have gigabit internet speeds. The sky is the limit there, so by the year 2030, we can watch 8K video at 60 FPS whenever we feel like it because gigabit internet is now everywhere. Now, this fast internet thing is great for consumers, yes, but it's also great for creators. Consider this, if we had this kind of internet, photographers and videographers would no longer have to write all of this data data onto SD cards. That's basically what we're all using now. Some sort of solid state drive that writes all our digital files. We pull it off the camera and we put it in the computer, one way or another. If we had internet like this, our cameras would be hooked up to that, and as soon as we finished recording our video, as soon as we press stop, it's already been uploaded and it's on the server, and it's accessible from our phone, tablet, laptop, desktop, anything you want. It's already there. No SD card importing process. That whole thing's gone. Now there are some exceptions, but filmmaking is a really heavy computer power process because there's lots of rendering, there's lots of exporting, conforming, all kinds of things that require a fast processor, lots of RAM, good graphics, and of course storage. Having all of that footage and files on the cloud would get rid of rendering and exporting because it's being done by some supercomputer way up in the server farm and not your personal device. And if you wanted to upload that video to YouTube, it's already on the server, so upload time would also be instant. You're like, there's my file, post it, and just bam, right there, that quick. Basically getting rid of all waiting we have with technology now. Now, a lot of this seems pretty insane as I'm talking about it, but think about this. The kind of internet transfer and data things we're doing now seemed very impossible 30 to 40 years ago. Just think of the simple process of email. It's text transfer. You're transferring letters. That used to be fairly complicated and it wasn't speedy. It took time to transfer all that files. Files that weren't even 1 kilobyte. They were bytes. Tiny for us, but at the time they were the standard. So to give you some perspective, that would have been like us. Now you're watching this video, which is closer to about a gigabyte in size. Now to give you perspective, in the 70s and 80s, that's basically like giving you a video that's a petabyte. You may not have heard of a petabyte. That's 1,000 terabytes. Or if you know what a gigabyte is, it's 1,000,000 gigabytes. It seems impossible now, but history has proven to us that in time that becomes possible. With that huge amount of data transfer possible in the decades to come, all the things I referenced earlier are easily possible. Now, how is all this gonna happen though? Big companies are working on it right now. Google, big surprise, is already having massive amounts of satellites worked on to see if we can put them into space, and they're powerful enough to shoot down internet to wide amounts of area on Earth, kind of like how a cell tower works, except if that cell tower was way up in space. And Facebook is also looking into technology like this, using space satellites to deliver internet to places cell towers can't get to. And in time, they'll get faster. Services like Google Fiber are already trying to get gigabit internet into our households. And I'm sure other companies like Verizon and AT&T are going to work on things like this very soon because they know there's the potential for it. And they'll make a lot of money because I'd be willing to pay a lot for that. And they're going to keep working on it until it's a standard for everyone. So this is definitely possible, and I hope this gave you some insight onto why that's really exciting and we're not really acknowledging it. It's more than just buffering. It's changing everything. That's one huge tech thing to be excited for. What big change in the future are you looking forward to? Let me know in the comments below. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you in the next one.